What if the world doesn't define you, but you define the world? This isn't just a story. It's your awakening. A call to stop reacting. Stop chasing. And start reigning. They told you strength is loud. That power means control. That connection comes from giving all of you all the time. But what if they were wrong? What if real strength is the courage to pause? The power to stay still when the world demands you move. This is not about becoming cold. Not about shutting down. It's about becoming sovereign. Unshaken by chaos. Unmoved by tests. Unbroken by storms. You felt it, the pull to prove yourself. To fill silence with words. To chase what doesn't serve you. But that ends here. This is your reset. A path where you don't perform for approval. Where you don't bend to chaos. Where you don't chase meaning in someone else's eyes. This journey will show you how to see through the games and refuse to play. How to choose yourself without needing their nod. How to read the world without controlling it. How to face conflict without losing your calm. How to guide storms without being swept away. And how to walk away with peace as your crown. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This is not about fighting the world. It's about mastering yourself, because the one who cannot be shaken cannot be forgotten. So I ask you now, are you ready to stop reacting and start reigning? This is your moment. Your dawn. Your sovereignty. If this stirs something in you, comment, I rise. Not for applause, but to mark your beginning. Click like if you've ever felt trapped by the need to prove yourself. Share this with someone ready to break free. And subscribe if you're done chasing and ready to claim your throne. Let's begin with the power of you. What if the real power isn't in reacting but in refusing to play? They say strength is about action, but the strongest move is the one you don't make. There comes a moment in every life when you stop chasing and start observing. That moment is quiet, but it changes everything, because power doesn't begin with words. It begins in the pause, the breath you take, when someone expects you to break. The game doesn't start with arguments. It starts with tension. Someone pulls back. Subtly, not enough to confront, just enough to unsettle. Text. A cold tone. A flicker of silence. You feel it. That tug in your gut. Old you would have chased. Texted again. Overthought every word. Searching for a hidden code. Did I mess up? Is this my fault? But now, you see it for what it is. A test. A subtle shift, designed to pull you off center. This time, you don't move. You don't spiral. You don't chase shadows for answers. You stay. Rooted. Present. Because the person who reacts to every shift never survives the next storm. Most don't see the setup. They think manipulation comes with red flags. But real manipulation wears silence. Wears ambiguity. A delayed reply. A cryptic post. A test. Wrapped in quiet. You felt it. You've lived the cycle. You've tasted the regret of abandoning your clarity, just to feel seen. But now, you choose differently. They pull back. You breathe. They get vague. You stay still. No explanation. No apology. No chasing. You observe. You assess. And then you decide. As Robert Greene wrote, the person who cannot control their words shows they cannot control themselves. And Machiavelli would agree. Strategic silence isn't weakness. It's unsettling. When you stop reacting, they start wondering. When you stop chasing, they start recalibrating. A person who doesn't play breaks the game. They post something vague, emotional, indirect, meant to stir you. Old, you would have cracked. Are you okay? Is this about me? But now, you see it. You scroll. You move on, because only truth deserves your energy. And truth doesn't need bait. History doesn't remember the loud. It remembers the still. Marcus Aurelius, George Washington. They didn't command with noise. They commanded with presence. And you are becoming that presence. So I ask you now, when was the last time you stayed still while someone else unraveled? When was the last time your silence spoke louder than their chaos? If you can't remember, this is your moment. Strength isn't in how fast you respond. It's in how long you can wait without flinching. They test. You grade. They pull away. You stay grounded. Their storm can't shake your sea. And when they realize that, they don't just notice you. They respect you. If this broke a pattern in your life, comment below. Unplayable. Not for applause, for alignment. Hit like if you've ever given away your power to feel seen. Share this with someone ready to stop reacting and start leading. And subscribe if you're done being pulled into chaos and ready to become unshakable. Because in the next part, we don't just refuse the game, we choose ourselves and change the rules forever. What if you never needed their approval to know your worth? It's not about refusing their games. It's about building a strength that no one can take away. Validation. It's a quiet trap. You don't feel it until it's gone. You don't realize you're hooked until you're waiting for a nod, a text, a glance to feel whole. Let's be real. If you haven't chosen yourself, you'll always wait to be chosen. You crave the smile, the reply, the moment someone says, "You're enough." But here's the truth. Any worth that depends on their response is a chain, not a crown. Someone makes a subtle jab about your work, your pace, your silence. Old you would have laughed it off, nodded, maybe even joined in, cutting yourself down to keep the peace. But inside, it stung. You felt the test, and you failed it by trying to pass it. The person who's chosen themselves, they don't defend, they don't perform, they don't shrink to fit someone else's frame. They look, they breathe, and their silence says it all. Machiavelli knew this. The one who seeks to please will always serve. If you need their approval to feel strong, you're not their equal. You're their shadow, chasing affection, working for praise. That's not freedom. That's a leash with a smile. You send a message. It's left unread. No reply. Old you. Panic. Did I say too much? Should I explain? You'd rewrite, retext, reshape yourself to seem better. But now, you set the phone down. You breathe. You move on. Because the only one who needs to see your worth is you. When you choose yourself, you stop chasing closure. You stop begging for recognition. You stop needing to be liked by someone who can't even see themselves clearly. Instead, you live, not to impress, not to persuade, but to be, and the world. It adjusts. Say this with me. I am not a question. I am the answer. You're not up for debate. You're not waiting for delayed replies to unlock your power. Because when you stop waiting, you start walking. And when you walk in your truth, even silence becomes magnetic. You enter a room. No need to prove you're chill. No stories to fill the quiet. Just you. Your presence. And they feel it. Not because you spoke, because you didn't need to. Calm like that is rare. And what's rare is remembered. So I ask you, how many times have you dimmed your light just to be liked? How many times have you filled silence just to feel safe? That ends today. The person who chooses themselves doesn't edit their soul to buy comfort. They walk whole. And if someone can't meet them there, they don't lower their worth. They raise their path. Think of Muhammad Ali. He didn't wait to be called great. He claimed it. Not from arrogance, from conviction. Greatness isn't granted. It's owned inside, before the applause. Next time someone tests you, don't dance, don't defend, don't dilute. Stay, because if you flinch, you prove their doubt. But if you stand, you rewrite their rules. If this sparked something in you, comment, I choose me, not for others, for you. Hit like if you've ever shrunk yourself to feel safe. Share this with someone tired of chasing worth. And subscribe if you're done waiting for permission and ready to walk like your energy is royal. Because next, we don't just choose ourselves. We read the world without needing to control it. What if true power isn't in controlling others, but in seeing through them? It's not about choosing yourself. It's about understanding the energy around you and staying unshaken. Power doesn't always speak. Sometimes, it just sees. Most people hear words, but miss the rhythm. They chase actions, but overlook the patterns underneath. To read someone isn't to decode their speech. It's to feel their energy, their shifts under pressure, their silence when it lingers too long. It's a listening that doesn't interrupt, a watching that doesn't react, a presence that simply knows. But most can't do this. They're trained to fix, to answer, to fill the void. And in that rush, they lose the only power that matters, staying grounded. Someone's tone shifts. They say, I'm fine. But their eyes tell a different story. You feel the tension rise. Old you would have pressed. Are you sure? What's wrong? You try to clear the air now, but now you breathe. You say, I'm here when you're ready. Then you wait, not in fear, not in doubt, in calm. That's what they're not used to. They expect a reaction, a chase, a fix. Not because they're cruel, but because they've learned emotions move people. Most buckle under that pressure. They explain, they pursue, they overreach. But you see it all and hold your ground. They pull back. You don't chase. They disconnect. You stay present. They walk in, visibly tense, words sharp, energy heavy. Old you would have jumped in. Did I do something? Let's talk. Now, you look up, say, rough day, and when they don't answer, you go back to your task. Calm, unshaken. 30 minutes later, they're beside you, softer, open, not because you fixed anything, but because you didn't try to. This is co-regulation. When someone spirals, they don't need your logic. They need your rhythm, your steady breath, your grounded presence. When you stay centered, you create space for them to return. Not through force, through calm. Machiavelli said it, he who cannot control himself will be controlled. This isn't about controlling others. It's about staying so steady that no storm can pull you off course. And in that stability, you gain something deeper than influence. You gain trust. They don't need you to solve their chaos. They need you to be the anchor they can't shake. Not a savior, not a servant, a center. So I ask you, can you sit in tension without rushing to fix it? Can you feel their energy shift and not make it about you? Can you read their patterns without rewriting them? Because if you can, You become the presence they didn't know they needed. If this opened your eyes to something you felt but couldn't name, comment, "I read energy." Not for praise. For you. Hit like if you've ever reacted when you should have stayed still. Share this with someone who thinks fixing is strength. And subscribe if you're ready to lead. Not with control, but with unshakable presence. Because next, we don't just stay calm. We master conflict without ever raising our voice. What if the loudest voice in the room is the one that stays silent? It's not just about reading energy. It's about mastering conflict without letting it master you. In a world full of noise, the most powerful presence is the one who doesn't need to shout to be heard. Real strength isn't in volume. It's in control. The control of your breath, your tone, your state. Most believe winning a fight means talking louder, pushing harder, arguing longer. That's what the insecure do. But true power, it settles the air. It quiets the storm. It commands. By existing, someone's upset. Their voice rises. Words come fast, sharp, emotional. You feel the pull to match their fire. Old you would have jumped in, defended, interrupted, escalated. But now, you stay still. Your breath slows. Your voice stays low. You don't fight their chaos. You become the ground. They can't shake. They throw words like blades. You let them fall. Then you say, "Calm and clear, we'll talk when the air is steady." And the room goes quiet. Not because you shouted, because you didn't. This is nervous system control. Not ignoring emotion, but choosing when it speaks for you. Not retreat. Not avoidance. But a decision to stay anchored. Machiavelli wrote, "A ruler must know when not to be good, if the moment demands it." This isn't about cruelty. It's about precision. The ability to shift not from fear, but from clarity. The one who only knows kindness is as unbalanced as the one who only knows force. But the one who can choose silence over noise, they cannot be moved. You're in a heated moment. They expect the usual script. Raise your voice. Defend your point. Match their energy. But you break the pattern. You listen. You pose. Then you say, "Steady. I won't argue in chaos. Let's talk when we're both clear." Then you step back. Not to win, to reset. That single act rewires everything. You're no longer reacting like someone seeking approval. You're deciding like someone who knows their worth. This isn't suppression pretending you're fine. This is regulation, knowing you're not, but choosing not to bleed in the heat. Every time you stay calm, when chaos invites you to dance, you teach your body, storms pass. You don't need to chase the wind. And suddenly, you stop fighting battles that aren't yours. You stop defending points that don't need proof. You stop trying to win and start leading. Relationships thrive on tension. Attraction needs friction. But friction, without control, becomes destruction. Two unsteady energies clashing for dominance. But when you hold still, when you become the eye of the storm, they feel it. And they remember it. Because anchors are rare, and what's rare is respected. Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison. He emerged poised, quiet. He didn't shout. He reshaped nations with his presence. That's leadership. Not noise, not force, but strength through stillness. So I ask you, when was the last time you stayed calm while someone else escalated? When was the last time your silence said more than their words? That's not weakness. That's command. Next time conflict comes, don't posture. Don't defend. Don't explain. Let it rise. Let it swell. You stay grounded. And when you speak, speak to reset, not to prove. One sentence, one boundary, then peace. That energy doesn't just shift the moment. It reshapes how they see you. If this reminded you of the strength in your silence, comment, unshakable. Not for others, for you. Hit like if you're tired of wasting energy on arguments. Share this with someone who thinks strength is shouting. And subscribe if you're done being pulled into chaos and ready to lead with calm. Because next, we don't just stay still. We guide the storm without ever fearing it. What if you could face chaos and turn it into calm? It's not just about staying still in conflict. It's about guiding the energy around you without losing yourself. Most people fear intensity. Not just their own, but the chaos of others. They see the anger, hear the sharp words, feel the emotional surge, and they freeze. Or worse, they try to fix it. But the one who stays, who breathes steady through the storm, becomes more than a presence. They become a sanctuary. Today, we're taught extremes. Some run from depth, staying cold, detached, afraid of feeling. Others drown in it, absorbing every emotion, thinking fixing others proves their worth. Both miss the mark, because true strength doesn't flee. It doesn't collapse. It guides through presence. Someone's overwhelmed. Their voice cracks. Words spill out angry, rough, unfiltered. You expect tension, maybe blame, maybe tears. Old you would have panicked, tried to argue back, tried to end the discomfort fast. But now, you hold their gaze. You say, soft but steady, I see you. I'm not here to fight. And something shifts. Not because you solved their pain, because you didn't run from it. You don't meet fire with fire. You become the water, the stone, the quiet between the storms. Emotion isn't the enemy. It's a map. It shows what's unspoken, what's unhealed, what still aches in them and in you. The one who sees feelings as threats will always fight them. But the one who sees them as signals becomes the compass. Machiavelli wrote, "He who cannot control himself will be controlled." This isn't about dominating others. It's about staying so grounded that no chaos can pull you under. And in that calm, you earn something deeper than respect. You earn trust. They walk in, tension heavy, words sharp, bait slammer down. Old you would have jumped in. What's wrong? Let's fix this. Now, you look up. Calm. Tough day. They don't answer. You nod. Go back to your task. Later, they sit beside you. Quieter. Open. Not because you forced peace, because your calm became their anchor. This is co-regulation. When someone spirals, they don't need your answers. They need your steadiness, your breath, your presence. You don't absorb their storm. You don't fight it. You hold space and let it pass. They don't need a hero. They don't need a fixer. They need someone who doesn't flinch when intensity hits. Someone who hears the raised voice and keeps their own low. Who sees the chaos and doesn't make it their own. That presence doesn't just calm the moment. It becomes a memory they carry. So, I ask you, how many times have you tried to fix chaos when it just needed space? How many times have you taken their storm and made it yours? That ends now. Next time, intensity rises. Don't interrupt. Don't coach. Don't run. Breathe. Hold their gaze. Feel your ground. Speak only when your voice seeks nothing but truth. Because when you do, you don't just guide the moment. You redefine what strength feels like. If this reminded you that you can lead through any storm, Comment. I guide energy. Not for ego, for you. Hit like if you've ever shrunk in the face of chaos. Share this with someone who thinks fixing is leading. And subscribe if you're ready to guide, not with force, but with unshakable calm. Because next, we don't just guide the storm. We walk away and carry our peace with us. With peace, without regret. What if walking away isn't losing, but reclaiming your power? It's not just about guiding the storm. It's about knowing when to leave it behind and carrying your peace with you. The most powerful choice you'll ever make isn't to stay and fight. It's to walk away, not with anger, not with noise, but with clarity, not to prove a point, not to wound, but because you know peace is worth more than being understood. And dignity lasts longer than any connection. Most stay too long. They linger in conversations that drain their clarity. They hold on to spaces that feel like negotiations. Not love. They stay because they fear regret. But the real regret, betraying yourself just to feel chosen. You're across from someone. The respect is gone. The energy feels heavy. Forced. Old, you would have pleaded. Tried harder. Asked for one more chance to be enough. But now, you speak softly. Steady, this isn't my path anymore. And you rise. Not out of spite, but out of truth. Because when a space asks you to shrink, it's not a home. It's a cage. They expect drama, a slammed door, a final word to sting. But you leave clean, silent, whole, and that silence, it echoes louder than any argument ever could. Machiavelli wrote, "Fortune favors the bold," but boldness isn't always a battle. Sometimes, it's leaving quietly, walking away without breaking anything except the chains that held you back. Walking away isn't failure. It's alignment. It's knowing your presence is a gift, and not every space deserves it. You don't ghost. You don't burn bridges. You don't explain endlessly. You simply stop giving your energy to what no longer sees you. That's not rejection. That's self-respect. You feel the shift. Conversations that once felt alive now feel like bargains. Old you would have stayed, hoping to fix what's broken. Now, you say, calm and clear, "I wish you well, but I'm done here." And you walk, not to hurt, not to escape, but to honor the person you're becoming. How many times have you stayed out of fear? Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of admitting you've already left in your heart. That ends now. You're not here to beg, not here to prove, not here to shrink for connection. You're here to walk when staying means losing yourself. You choose peace over explanation, clarity over struggle, yourself over performance. The one who leaves with peace doesn't just walk away. They redefine the space they leave behind. Their absence isn't loss. It's a lesson, a memory no one forgets. You don't walk away to forget them. You walk away to remember you. And in that choice, you don't just end a chapter. You become the story. If this resonated in your bones, comment, "I walk with clarity," not to announce pain. To mark your growth, hit like if you've ever stayed too long. Share this with someone still shrinking to feel wanted. And subscribe if you're ready to stop proving and start walking in your truth. Because next, we don't just walk away. We rise and claim our throne. You weren't born to be read. You were born to be unforgettable. This isn't just the end of a journey. It's the beginning of your reign. You were never weak. You were just too open. You thought strength meant giving everything. You thought connection meant being seen. But that made you predictable. And what's predictable can be controlled. But that version of you, it's gone. The one who chased approval, replaced by silence that commands. The one who feared conflict, now leads through storms. The one who stayed too long, now walks away with peace. You didn't just learn to pause. You learned to reign. You didn't just choose yourself. You became your own anchor. And when you walked away, you didn't burn bridges. You built a legacy. This is the rise of the sovereign self. Not cold, not distant, but centered, unshaken, whole. They thought they could read you, but you became a language they couldn't translate. They thought they could move you, but you became the mountain they couldn't climb. The sovereign self doesn't just live, they redefine the world around them. Your silence doesn't just echo, it reshapes memories. Your presence doesn't just exist, it becomes a story no one forgets. You are not here to be chosen. You are here to choose. Not here to be understood. You are here to be remembered. Think of the moment you stopped explaining. The day you stood still while chaos swirled. The time you walked away not to hurt, but to honor you. That wasn't weakness. That was your throne. So let the world wonder. Let them feel your absence. Let your silence speak what words never could. Because the one who cannot be predicted cannot be replaced. And the one who cannot be controlled becomes a legend. This is your call. Stop explaining. Stop chasing. Start reigning, because the sovereign self doesn't just walk through life. They carve a path the world will never forget. If this marked your return to power, comment, sovereign, not to be seen. To claim your throne, hit like if this wasn't just a video but a mirror. Share this with someone ready to stop chasing and start leading. And subscribe if you're done folding and ready to rise in your truth. This is where your story begins.